Danny Warnock started Superior Gear, a cottage vendor that sells innovative hammock systems from his basement. His company has seen some growth and now they have multiple employees and have moved to a dedicated facility. In this video, we're going to talk to Danny about DIYing, starting a business, and the growth of Superior Gear. We are going to bring in Danny. Hey, Danny, how's it going?
Hey, Jeremy, how's it going? I'm doing good.
Good. So you live pretty close by here, and I just looked at my phone, and it's -2 outside. How do you
Yeah,
like that?
little chilly today, especially because I just got back from California, and it's quite a bit warmer there.
Yeah, I came back from a week in Mexico, so I'm still adjusting from that as well. But
Yeah,
I told everybody a little bit about you, and you started your hammock business. Uh, Maybe if we can just start out, why don't you tell a little bit about Superior Gear and the gear that you make?
sure. I mean, I've been into camping and backpacking and just the outdoors ever since I was a kid. And in my 20s, I got really into the boundary waters in northern Minnesota, just these remote lakes that are really, really beautiful. And one time while I was planning a solo trip there, I realized my old tent was going to be really heavy, and I had been into lounging hammocks, and I thought, well, could I just sleep in my hammock? And I just realized I just need to make a bug net for it, and I already had some tarps, and so I did that, and I was like, oh, this is great, but there was just a lot of fiddle factor with that setup, and the pad didn't really take care of my shoulders. So then I started kind of learning more about underquilts, but those have a lot of problems and they slide around and have cold drafts and all that stuff. I'm like, why doesn't anybody just make a hammock with insulation built into it so you just never have to think about it? And it's like the warmest hammock possible and simple. So I made one for myself, and it turned out pretty well. Had a couple little issues, but then I made a second one for winter and fixed those last couple issues, and it was kind of, I think, the perfect hammock. And then so I was just making the gear for myself, but people were interested in what I was doing and asking, like, where did you buy that, or can I buy that from you? And I thought, well, maybe there's actually a business here. I can't be the only one having these different problems and want to sleep in a comfy, warm hammock. So it kind of turned into a business. We did a Kickstarter in 2017 that was pretty successful, and then we've just kind of been growing it ever since. And that's what we're doing now.
So tell me a little bit about what sort of gear that you offer on your website and you sell right now.
Yeah, so we offer a complete hammock camping system that's very modular. The insulated hammock is kind of our flagship product, and we have several temp ratings of it from 45 down to -40, and we have the ultralight version of it, and now we have a budget-friendly synthetic version that's 40 degrees. So we have a lot of different options like that, but we also have different zipper accessories for attaching, a bug net, a full or a half bug net on top, or a top cover. Then we also offer an underquilt / top quilt called the Comforter. That is really, really versatile piece for your top insulation. We also have the tarp. We have really great shelter tarp. And we've got a great suspension buckle. So we've got really a one-stop shop for everything you need. And our focus has always been making the simplest possible version of hammock gear that's still really light and backpackable.
Yeah, so making things simple. If anybody has ever made a hammock before, they know that there are some things that aren't simple. And I know you have an engineering background, and I would guess that kind of helps with knowing where the stress points are and designing it real well. And how does just being an engineer help you not only with designing but just with your business?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm a software engineer. Been doing that the last 12 years. Yeah, I think it's helpful with problem solving and knowing how to break down a problem into different pieces. And also think something about being a software engineer is you kind of think in different levels of detail, like at the high level, like what is the purpose of this thing? Like what's the big picture thing we're trying to solve? And then, then you got your nuts and bolts layer of, the actual lines of code or the actual stitches in a piece of gear that need to be correct. And then there's kind of these in between layers of, that you need to be able to zoom in and out and know when to focus on the big picture and when to focus on the small details. So I think that has helped me.
So you talked a little bit about the Kickstarter that helped you grow a little bit after you decided to start selling gear. What are some of the other things that just kind of made your gear explode and take off?
Um, I go to a lot of group hangs, or as many as I can get out to. So I think that's been really great to meet people and for them to see the gear firsthand. Like HangCon, I've been several times, and probably the biggest thing for us has been the YouTubers using our gear. Um, Spacgyver and the Marine, and then
Sitting
Shug
here admiring the
was
superior
really a pretty
shelter.
big game changer for us. Um, he was skeptical of the built-in underquilt, like I think a lot of people are, which I understand. But and he actually lives not far from me. He lives 15 minutes from me, but it took me a few years to really actually get in touch with him. But finally, he said, "Well, let's just meet up at a park." And so we met, and he looked at the hammock. He's like, "Huh, can I borrow this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then a week later, he was like, "Wow, I think I might like to actually have one." So, and then a couple weeks after, maybe a few weeks after that, he dropped a video, and that was definitely a game changer for us.
Yeah. And the nice thing about Shug too is, he's typically not getting paid to do these sort of things, and it's real authentic. If he likes something, he's going to talk about it, and if he doesn't like something, he's not going to talk about it. So no
Exactly.
matter how much he's
Superior
getting
Gear
paid.
tarp, and the reason I'm
Yeah,
showing
I
it to
don't
you
think he's
is
ever been paid for anything. We didn't pay him. Um,
Yeah.
and also, like, he wants to use the gear on a trip, like not just in his backyard. So I think he is the real deal.
the
And
superior shelter.
what you see on the
Passed the
videos,
old
like
Shug test. I
he's like
don't know
that
if
in
that
real
means
life.
much, but it's
He's a
kept me high
character,
and
has a lot of
dry
Yeah.
energy.
and a
It's a
trust
fun
Yeah.
guy to be around. So, but very very authentic. It's cool.
So one of your dreams, came true. You have this growing cottage business. It's growing and growing and growing, but it's not all uh, butterflies and rainbows. And there's some challenges as you're starting to grow. With either an accountant or a lawyer or investors or some of that business side. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the challenges that came about when you started to grow.
Yeah, definitely a lot of challenges. Definitely a lot of really really hard days. Um, I don't know, maybe even seems like there's a lot more hard days than the really fun, you know, fun days, I guess. But that's just comes with the territory. Yeah, I mean, I was new to business, so I've had to learn about all the bookkeeping and structuring a business and legal things and HR and just all those things. So you're just always learning. Specifically in our industry, production is always a challenge. Like once if you get your name out there, well, first you need a good product, and I think we have that, and then you start getting your name out there, but then you got to produce, and it's just this kind of tightrope um, of cash flow, especially to how much money are you putting into marketing, and then if you succeed there, then you need money for the production and make sure you can actually deliver. So, but yeah, the cash flow in any business I think is hard, but it's been a real challenge sometimes, and it's been a tightrope sometimes, and a lot of times I honestly didn't think we were going to make it, but we've always found a way through.
So, did you have any type of mentor or any sort of assistance since you didn't have any real background in business?
Yeah, I brought on some partners early on who had a lot more experience in business and marketing, so that was definitely a huge help trying to navigate that. And I still have partners who um, help us figure out the direction to go. But I've also learned a lot and gained a lot of confidence. And I think sometimes as the founder, you're kind of the only person who has touched every piece of the business. Whether it's the HR or the production or the product or who your customers are or the marketing, and you have a hand in everything. And so sometimes I think I've learned to rely on my gut, even though maybe on paper I'm not the most qualified person. You know, I don't have an extensive business background, but I know all of the pieces involved and how they kind of pull on each other. And I can never fully satisfy everybody who wants something from the business. You know, the government wants their taxes. My founders want a profit. My customers want the perfect product that's light and durable and cheap. You know, and you can't satisfy everything 100%, but you do your best to kind of keep everything in balance and keep everyone as happy as you can.
Okay, let's go away from the ugly side of having a small business to the exciting part, which, you know, you had this business for what, 10 years operating out of your basement and in your garage, and kind of the struggle of squeezing it into your home. But recently you moved to a dedicated facility. Maybe you can talk about that shift.
Yeah, we were operating at my house for many years, and just finally just outgrew it. And my wife is glad to have the business out of our house, although it was a convenient commute, so that part was good. But yeah, we've just back in October we moved into a nice space here that's it's good size and something we were able to afford. So
Sure.
yeah, it's been
Can you give us a little peek at it?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a little tour. We're here in my office. I got one of our banners up. Got a little tool bench. But yeah, come out here and got some sewing happening. Let's see. Hey, Jeanette. Here we got our down filling room. Down contraption. Yeah, it's still a little messy, still kind of settling in. Got our shop manager desk, got ropes, snap stuff. You can see all this product here, stuff that's ready to fill. Yeah. What else? We got a hammock stand for testing stuff, setting up ridge lines. Our shipping area over there. And then there's even a little bit more out here. Kind of tucked in a machine shop, so you'll hear machines in the background. Got some inventory in there. Storage here. Here we have our big cutting table. Cutting some bug nets right now. So yeah. So that's
awesome.
That's the tour. It's not huge, but it's big enough.
It's bigger than the basement, right?
Definitely. Yep. And we don't have to go outside in the garage when it's 0 degrees and cut stuff. That was never very fun.
Yeah. Not a good work environment for Minnesota in February.
Yep.
So as you're walking back into your office there, what would you tell people that are thinking about being a do-it-yourselfer and making their own gear?
I think it's great. I think if you have that interest and you enjoy, that problem solving, I'm all for it. And I'm not, I'll give people tips on what to do and not to do. So yeah, definitely, I just say go for it if you enjoy it. Now, sometimes you end up not saving as much money as you might think. So that's just something to be aware of. If you're doing it purely to save money, you might not come out ahead as much as you think. And that's the advantage of buying a product from a company that's spent years doing that R&D, and they know what it takes. So can be a risk. It might not turn out as good as you hope. But if you really get that satisfaction from doing it, which I do, then yeah, you should do it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just have like a cheap sewing machine, sometimes you're unable to do some of the things that, a company that actually has heavy-duty sewing machines and snap machines and stuff like that. So,
right.
Before we've kind of talked about how difficult it is to run a cottage vendor business, what sort of advice would you give to someone who's really good at making something and they're thinking about, oh, maybe I should start selling this?
probably don't. I mean, and I'm not saying that because of competition. It's just that hard. I thought it was going to be really hard, and it's been 10 times harder than what I imagined, and maybe I'm just bad at it, but like to just keep it alive the whole time, to have enough cash, you may not be able to pay yourself a lot of the time. You've got to really have a passion for what you're doing. I mean, you've got to want it so bad that you're going to ignore my advice and do it anyway. So if you don't have that passion, just don't. It's really, really hard. But if you do have that passion, just be in it for the long haul. I mean, it will probably take years, and and make the best of it. Be willing to grow and learn new skills, and you're just going to be uncomfortable for years, and you have to be okay being uncomfortable, feeling like you don't know what you're doing, feeling like you're letting people down, doing the best you can to serve your customers and be good to your partners, and if you have partners, and be good to your family and your spouse, and be willing to ask for help when you need it. But it's a hard road, and I don't want to sugarcoat it, but that's kind of what it takes. And obviously you can build a business. I mean, people do it. People make money. I haven't made a lot of money yet, but obviously it happens, but most do fail because of how hard it is. There's a lot of competition, and a lot of people would like to be able to be successful entrepreneurs. But yeah, if you have that passion, then just be willing to grow, be willing to be uncomfortable, be willing to sacrifice for a long time before you get the benefits. And
I mean, if you're trying to keep on growing your business, you may not see any profit for 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road. And like you said, 2/3 of new businesses fail. So I think a good example, last week I talked with Dylan at Pilgrim UL, and he had an opportunity where he didn't have to work full time, and he was making backpacks, and they had a child, so he went back to work, and his wife's making backpacks while she's on maternity leave. But I would recommend that people grow slowly. So don't quit your job tomorrow thinking that you're going to make a bunch of money. It's going to be a long process, right?
Yeah, definitely. One more thought too is, like, it's not going to be the same path for everybody, and don't try to exactly copy either a business model or just sort of a life/business model that worked for someone else might not work for you. I mean, I've been able to keep a day job this whole time and build the business on the side, but depending on your job or the type of business, like, that may or may not be possible. So you have to figure out your situation and your goals, and your assets, the things that you're already good at. I mean, if you already know business, that's a huge asset going into it. Or if you know marketing or creating media and content, like, that's a great asset. So also figure out what are the assets that you have and really lean into those. But don't try to exactly copy what anyone else is doing, because every business is different.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of goes for gear. I mean, your gear has to be a little bit different too, and not copying what somebody else is doing, and thinking that you have an advantage and yours is better somehow.
Great point. Yeah, there better be something different about your product for sure.
Which let's go back here a little bit. You talked about it right up front, and you can kind of see on the tarp behind you. What makes yours different is you have that integrated underquilt, where you can just pull out your hammock and you don't have to hang an underquilt, and it makes it super easy.
Yeah. That's kind of the core of the brand. And we also have another system where we have a hammock that's not insulated called the Starlight hammock, and then you can snap on our comforter that I mentioned, and that makes a fantastic bottom quilt. I mean, it doesn't move around, and then you still get a ventable, removable underquilt option, and maybe that's a thing we're not as known for, but that's also another really simple underquilt system. But yeah, we do sell the most of the Superior hammock, and that's still kind of the core of the brand.
So I have 5 or 6 friends that have your hammock, and they just love them. Truth be told, I do not have one of them because I'm a bridge hammock guy. Are you going to make a bridge hammock anytime soon?
I definitely want to.
Yeah.
Right now, our biggest focus is just trying to streamline the production that we have,
Sure.
and kind of do what's on our plate now a little bit better before we take on any other, real major products. It's New products are hard, and especially once you've established something, new products are almost a risk, because you could introduce new issues, and then just overall complexity for the business. We already have quite a bit of products and a lot of moving parts as it is, and there's always a chance that you go to make the new product and it just doesn't turn out the way you hoped. And so, but yes, I would like to do that, and I hope we can at
Yeah.
some point.
So as I mentioned, Danny and I probably only live about 20 minutes away from each other, and we actually go to the same church, which is a huge mega church. But Danny, you're a musician in that, and everybody on stage is a very good musician there. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your music background.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I grew up in a really musical family. Like, everyone in my family played piano and wrote songs and played other instruments. So it's kind of a natural thing for me to want to go into music. And I spent my 20s being a professional drummer and teaching drums and playing gigs and some recordings and stuff like that. So yeah, so no, that was good. It got a little hard to support a family being a musician. I was married and had a young kid. So by my late 20s, I transitioned to a software career. But luckily, I had built enough skill and network, that I can still do gigs on the side. So yeah, I play drums and keyboards at our church, and I'm lucky to play with some really really good musicians, like some world class musicians around there. But just a lot of great people at our church. So yeah, it's great that I get to keep doing that on the side.
So I know, just to illustrate, why I think that you're a good person, you have a good story about you used to have a lady who was a sewer for you. And unfortunately, she was unable to keep working for you, and you figured out a way to help her family. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So COVID hit, and our sales were going up a lot, and so I reached out to local sewers to get more sewing help. And there was a lady who did great work for us. But then, after about a year or so, she said, my tailoring businesses for, she does a lot of proms and weddings, like, that's picking up again. I don't have time to sew for you anymore, but I have a bunch of family back in Cambodia, where she's from, and they would love to have more opportunity to work. And they're great sewers. They have a tailoring shop there. Um, so I said, that's pretty interesting. I would like to go there and meet them, and just build that relationship if we're going to do this, as well as walk them through the product and make sure they really understand, all the little details that are critical to make our product correctly. So went over there, I don't remember if it was 2-3 years ago, but we worked through all the different designs, and we sewed up a big batch of product. And yeah, it was really great people. And after that, we spent the last couple days going to the temple ruins of Angkor Wat, which is incredible, and went to the beach, and just really had a great time connecting with that family. And yeah, so they're just a small family of entrepreneurs, just like I'm a small family entrepreneur. They just live in another country, and we're able to pay them extremely well in their local, for their local economy, but it still gives us the scale that we need, because it's hard to find good people here. And it just helps our costs as well. But it's a really, really great situation working with them, and it's been really good.
Yeah, I mean, people need to know that there's a background story there, and you aren't just having people make stuff in Cambodia to save a penny. I mean, there's a reason for it. And you had told me in the past that they do a certain part of sewing, but you guys still finish them in your shop there.
Yeah. So that's most of our products. They will sew 80% of it there, and then they ship it here, and then we fill it. And we still have the option to fill it to a few different temp ratings. And so that gives us some of the flexibility here. It gives us the final quality control. Saves on shipping cost from there. And they're not set up for the downfilling at this point anyway. So yeah, no, it's been a really good model to get the best of both worlds that way.
Awesome. So is there anything else that we need to tell people about Superior Gear?
I mean, I just think we have the simplest gear on the market. So if you want to just not have to mess with your setup and be set up quickly and just not worry about being warm, I mean, I think we've got the best optimization for those things in the market.
Sure. So I'll show everybody a little bit here, your website, and I encourage everybody to go visit your website and take a look around. And if they have any questions, they can surely contact you. You can probably answer those questions. Or if you want to see more about the hammocks, you can probably watch some of Shug's videos that he'll tell you his opinion on them. But yeah, so I just wanted to thank you for coming along. So this is the third of a 4-part series. And in this series, we started out with my friend Miyagi, who is a do-it-yourself guy, really good do-it-yourselfer. And then the second video, we went to Dylan Frazier at Pilgrim Ultra Lightweight, who's a really small cottage vendor that, like I said, is still working out of his home. We progressed up to Danny here, who has employees and just moved into a dedicated facility. And next week, we're going to be joined by Ben McMillan of Hilltop Packs. And he has moved multiple times and has 16 employees now. So if you haven't checked out those previous videos, I encourage you to do that. And if you want a reminder for when that new video is going to come out, you can hit subscribe and punch the bell notification. So, Danny, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Stay warm up there. And
thanks for having me. That's great.
Yeah, you bet. We need to go backpacking together.
We do.
Yeah. We don't live that far apart. We don't have an excuse for it.
Yeah.
So. All right, man. Stay warm, and we'll see you on the trail.
All right. Sounds good. See you, Jerry.